Welcome to Refactor Your Money. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Max. I'm an accredited financial counselor, and I'm here to help you break free from financial stress and start living the life you deserve. If you're anything like me, you've probably made a financial mistake or two. Now that I'm approaching midlife myself, 39 years old, I can look back and see all the mistakes I've made. It's easy to make them. We all make mistakes early on in our lives before we really know what we're doing with money. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about a mistake I made back when I was 24 years old before I had any idea how to manage money. And I want to talk about it for a few reasons. First, I really want to normalize talking about money mistakes. It's really easy when we're young, especially before we've learned the lessons of life and before we really understand how money works, that we're going to make mistakes. I also think it's pretty commonplace, honestly, for people to feel shame and judgment and disappointment or embarrassment about their finances. And I really want this channel to be a safe place where we can all be open about the fact that nobody's perfect and we're all just here to learn and get better, right? So in the interest of transparency and vulnerability, I'm going to talk about one of the mistakes I made and how it cost me $289,000. Now, I made this mistake, as I mentioned, when I was 24 years old. I was fresh out of college, and I'm just going to give you a little context for it, and then I'll walk you through exactly how it cost me that much money. I went to college out of state. So my hometown is Minneapolis, but that is not where I went to school. I actually went to school in Los Angeles, and I graduated in 2008 in the sort of the pit, if you will, of the financial crisis. Now, if you're middle-aged like me or approaching middle age or midlife, you probably remember that time. It was pretty rough. It was not an enjoyable job market to be graduating into, but I did. And it took me I was actually probably fairly lucky compared to a lot of my peers. I found a job after about 5 months. Now, it was, when I say I found a job, it was my first real job, quote unquote, where I had a salary and full benefits and everything. And one piece of advice my boss gave me when I started there that turned out to be fantastic advice was to start investing in my 401k right away and do not stop and do not look at it. Now, I'll do a whole future video all about retirement accounts, but suffice it to say, high-level overview, a 401k is a tax-advantaged retirement account provided by a private employer as a benefit to their employees, whereby the employees essentially defer money before taxes. So before the company withholds any money for taxes, that money gets deferred into your 401k, which is administered by generally a brokerage, an investment company, a brokerage company. In my case, it was Fidelity. The money gets deferred over there automatically by your employer, and then you choose where you want that money to go. You set up a series of investments, and the money goes into the account and gets distributed into those investments, where it then grows, starts earning dividends, etc. And the idea is that that money is being set aside for retirement. So you're theoretically not going to touch that until you reach retirement age. Now, legally, you can start touching it at 59 and a half, and in some cases 55, and there are certain circumstances for that. But general rule is 59 and a half. And hopefully not even at that point. Hopefully you can actually wait and touch it later and well into your 60s, closer to more traditional retirement age. But anyway, I had a 401k account, and I took my boss's advice. I started diverting money into that account, and I let it sit. I was at that job for about 17 months. I started October of '08, and I didn't leave until March of 2010. And over the course of that, I actually was able to build up $7,000, which was pretty good. I mean, the company had a great match at the time. I think it was 50 cents on the dollar maybe, which is an incredible match. And so I was putting in my amount, my minimum to get the company match, and that amount grew. And the stock market at that time, I was basically buying it at the lowest point. So it was just starting to rebound. It was going up, and I was able to accumulate $7,000. Now at the time, that felt like a ton of money because I was living in LA, which is a high cost of living area, and my salary was entry level. It felt like a lot to me coming out of college. I think it was $47,000. Felt like a ton of money. I felt like I was balling. But once I got an apartment and had to pay for my car lease and my groceries and all that kind of stuff, all the shock that comes with graduating from college and having to start living your life in the real world hit. And compound that with the fact that I had no idea how to manage money. I had no plan. I was just flying by the seat of my pants. I did not have a lot of money left over at the end of each month. Now, when I was in college, I had a girlfriend, and she and I graduated in the same year, and we were together during all this time. And what precipitated my mistake was that we broke up. So we broke up in early 2010. We'd been together about 5 years. And at that point, I was kind of getting sick of LA. I didn't actually like the job I was doing. It was for an insurance company as a workers' compensation claims adjuster, and it was fine. but it was soul sucking in a lot of ways, and I really did not see myself doing that work for the long term. So I decided I'm just going to quit that job. I've broken up with my girlfriend. I'm going to leave our apartment, and I'm just going to go back to Minneapolis, move back in with my parents for a while, and just reset completely. So I did that. When I separated from my employer, I had a choice about what to do with my 401k. And I didn't know this at the time, but there are three things you can do with a 401k when you leave an employer. Number one is you can leave it with that employer. So you can just leave all the money that's invested sitting there. And there may be some fees associated with that. It's worth checking on that. I had no idea to do that at the time, but it's worth checking on that. But that is an option. You can just leave your money sitting there. It should continue to grow in all the investments the way you've allocated them. The only difference being, since you're not with the employer anymore, you're not getting paid, you're not diverting any money into it. So you're not going to be adding any more contributions. So you've got the money sitting there, it's growing, but you aren't piling anything new on top of it. Option two is you can open up an individual retirement account and roll the funds from your 401k into that account. Now, when you do that, you basically select your own administrator. It could be any brokerage company. It could be Fidelity, Vanguard, any number of them, Schwab if you want, really anyone you want. You go in, you open up an IRA, and then you roll the money from your 401k at your old employer, from that administrator, into the IRA you've opened at the new administrator. If it happens to be the same administrator, all the easier. You just roll the funds from one account to the other account, same administrator, no big deal. I did neither one of those. I did option number three, which is the one you should not do, and that is that I cashed out my 401k. Now, at the time I didn't know this, but there are two consequences to that. Consequence number one is you pay taxes on that money. Now, that makes sense because deferring the money into that account from your paychecks, that's happening before taxes. So the money's going in without paying taxes on it. It's growing without taxes. They're being applied, but you're not paying them. You're deferring the tax payments until you pull the money out at retirement. And so when you pull it out, you have to pay the taxes. Now, in normal circumstances, that happens when you're retiring. In my case, I paid them right away, and I did not have a plan for that. And consequence number two is that you have to pay a 10% penalty on top of those taxes for pulling the money out before you reach age 59 and a half. Now, I also did not have a plan for that. So both of those things were a shock to me. And I mentioned I didn't really have much of a savings plan. So that was rough. I had to deal with that. By the time those taxes came due and the penalty came due, I had the money set aside. So I covered it because I was working another job. I was back home. I got my feet back under me a little bit. So it was okay. I had income again. It wasn't a huge deal, but that was one way I really paid the price. Those two consequences I was not expecting. And that hit me kind of hard. But even worse is the consequence of all the compound interest I chose to forego. I didn't realize I was choosing to forego by not keeping the $7,000 invested. Now, every decision in finance comes with an opportunity cost, and that is what you are giving up in favor of the choice you're making. Now, I chose to take the money, and the choice that I forwent, my opportunity cost was leaving the money in that account. Now, what I'm going to do is pop into a couple calculators on my computer. I'm going to show you the reality of that consequence, and you'll see how that turned into a $289,000 mistake. So let's jump over there. I'm going to show you. It's going to be painful, but we're going to do it. And this is just part of life, right? We make mistakes. It's okay to admit them. In fact, it's good to look back at them, learn from them, and move forward. So let's dive into it. I'll walk you through all my pain. All right, so here we are in the first calculator I want to show you. Now, this is a calculator. It's called the S&P 500 Investment Calculator. It allows you to, as you can see how your investment would have grown over time. Now, this is a calculator from Clark.com, which is Clark Howard's website. And Clark Howard is fantastic. I definitely recommend him. If you aren't familiar with him, he's been posting and creating financial education content for decades. He's great. He's got a podcast and all kinds of calculators on his website. He has all kinds of blog posts. He's done a million things, and he's fantastic. So definitely check him out if you haven't. But basically, this calculator, what it does is it allows you to put in a value of an initial investment and then see how that money would have grown over a period of time historically based on selecting a certain number of years. Now, the S&P 500, if you're unfamiliar with that, I'll just give a quick rundown. But basically, it is an index. It's a stock market index, and it's basically just the 500 largest U.S. companies. So it's basically if you just essentially took all the 500 biggest U.S. companies, put them in a big basket, and then tracked that basket, any growth in those stocks over time averaged out. That's basically what the S&P 500 is. So this is going to show us what my $7,000 that I liquidated from my 401k back when I was 24 years old could have been worth today if I had just let it grow. So let's figure that out. So I'm going to take this 10,000 and I'm going to change it into 7,000. So that's what I took out of my account back in 2010 when I decided I was going to leave my job, and instead of leaving it sitting in my 401k, I pulled it out to use it as spending money. Now again, I mentioned that was in 2010, so we can update this to 2010. As I'm recording this, it's June of 2025. It's not the end of the year, so this is just going to go up to June, but it'll still give you a pretty decent idea of where things stand. And we're going to say that because I liquidated that money, there will be no additional regular contributions, right? I had left that job. I wasn't contributing anything else to it. I just want to know what it would have been if I had just left it sitting there and not even touched it for the last 15 years. So let's check that out. So it's going to be monthly $0. And you can see the results here. It actually already updated. If I had left that 7,000 in the S&P in 2010, it would be worth almost 50K. So 49,740 by 2025. You can see down here the total return on that 7,000 is 610% with a compound annual growth rate of 13.97, so just under 14. And basically what that is just a smoothed out representation of what the annual returns would be, right? The stock market, if we were to scroll down, I can show you, it doesn't have the same smooth returns every year, right? So in 2010, it was 14, 2011, it was 2, 2012, 15, right? So it's jumping around each year is a little bit different. In 2018, it was negative, right? So you can see all that here. This is just a smoothed out average of that. And so we now know from using this calculator that today I would be sitting on almost $50,000 if I had just left that money there. So that sucks. Not great. I would love to have had 50,000 extra dollars in my 401k today, but I don't. Now I'm going to show you the next calculator. So let's switch over to this one. Now this is investor.gov. This is the Securities and Exchange Commission's website. They have tons of great financial calculators here. I like to use their compound interest calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that number, that 49,000, what was it, 49,740, and we're going to put that in here. So 49,740, and we're going to say, again, we're just going to assume I'm not contributing to it at all. Now I do have a 401k today, again, and I am contributing to it. But for the sake of this exercise, I just want to know if I had just not taken that money out, just let it sit, what would it have turned into? So $0, and we're going to say the length of time in years. So by the time I turn 65, I'm 39 today, that's going to be 26 years. So let's say I'm planning to retire at 65. How much will this 49,740 be by the time I turn 65? We're going to use an estimated interest rate of 7. Now I'm going to choose that because historically, the stock market generally returns about 10%. You saw the compound annual growth rate on the last calculator was on just under 14. That period of time was a fantastic time to be investing. I started investing, as I mentioned, started that job in 08. It's now 2025. And if you look up how the stock market has done from 2008 to today, it has been gangbusters overall. That's not necessarily going to be the case going forward. And historically, in most 30-year periods, it's about 10%. Now, I'm going to use 7 here, assuming 3% for inflation. So we're going to reduce the 10% down to 7% so we can get a sense for what the value at 65 would be in today's dollars. So we're going to say 7. I'm going to do a 0% interest rate variance. Now, basically, this specific calculator allows you to select a variance range. So it'll show you, and when you see the graph below, you'll see what I mean. It'll show you what the money would be in various variances. So if I were to put 1 here, it would show me 7, which is what I put in. It would also show me 8 and 6 because those are 1% variances from 7. I'm going to do 0, but again, feel free to use whatever number you want if you're using this calculator for your own purposes. And we'll say it's going to compound annually. So let's see what this is. If I calculate, okay, so in 26 years, if I had that money sitting here today, that $49,000, it would be worth just under $289,000 at age 65. So I now know, we can now confirm through math, the magic of math and compounding, that if I had not withdrawn that $7,000 back in 2010 and just let that sit in my 401k or moved it over to a rollover IRA and not even touched it again, by retirement age, I would have an extra $288,857.73. Okay, so there you have it. Very painful. Don't love living through that again. But the good news is I learned from that. Like I said, I was 24 at the time. I'm now 39. That's 15 years of lessons learned from that experience. I've been at many employers since that do offer 401ks, and I learned the lesson of contribute to them. Do your best to max them out if you can. At the very least, get the employer match. I followed all of those rules since I got the next job that offered me a 401k. So I was able to recover, but it sure would be nice to have that extra $50,000 sitting in there on top of my existing balance. So yeah, I say all this, I show all this to you just in the interest, again, of transparency. I want everyone who's watching, I want you to know that we all make mistakes. We aren't born knowing how to money. We aren't born knowing how personal finance works. We aren't born understanding compound interest. We aren't born understanding interest rates. We aren't born understanding investing. We aren't born understanding cash flow statements, net worth. We aren't born understanding any of that. That all takes time to learn, and it isn't taught in schools. At least it wasn't taught in schools for me, and I think only in some places really is it still taught in schools. So I say all that in the interest of just being transparent. I don't want you to feel any shame or any embarrassment or any judgment about your own money. We all make mistakes, and trust me, there's plenty more where that came from me. I will make more videos about future mistakes. You'll see all the mistakes I've made, and there are plenty. So anyway, I hope that helped you in some way. If you are interested, if you're watching this video, I think there's a good chance you are interested in improving your own personal financial management skills. I'm an accredited financial counselor. I love talking to people about their money. If you want a little helping hand, if you want a little extra coaching, I have a link down below in the description that you can click to schedule some time with me. I offer 50-minute one-on-one focused coaching sessions where you can bring me your situation. It can be tailored to your specific needs. Obviously, I'm happy to chat through any issues you're facing and help guide you through any of them. So that's number one. Second of all, I have a personal financial tracking template if you're interested in a spreadsheet that can help you start getting a handle on your money, start creating some clarity around where your finances stand and where you're headed. Download that template. It's the one I used myself when I was starting to track my own money 7 years ago when my son was born and I had my own money epiphany. I found it super helpful. I hope you will too. Link in the description. Fill out the form and I will send it your way. And then the third gift I'd like to offer you is my free 30-day money refactor. It is a step-by-step 1-month guide that just helps. My goal with it is to get you a little bit of clarity around where you stand today and also where you want to go. So part of improving your money is not just knowing where you stand, but also where you want to go. And this guide helps you to achieve both of those things. It's totally free. It really, again, helped me. It was an exercise I went through myself. I go through it with my clients as well. And I think it could be useful to you. So if you're interested in that, getting yourself started, igniting on the Launchpad, download that guide, link in the description, fill out the form, and I'll email it right to you. Lastly, if you had any value from this video, I'd really like to encourage you to subscribe, like the video, ring the bell if you want to get notified, all the things you do on YouTube, right? Do those, please. This is a small channel. I've got a few videos up so far with just basic how-tos to get you started, but I really do hope I can grow this into some more nuanced topics and make it much more tailored towards you, the viewer. I want to help you. The whole purpose of this channel is to help you and to bring value to you. So comment down below, like and subscribe. Let's get some ideas going so that I can make some content for you. I would love to do that. And until then, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.